So you can solve a system of equations using what's called Cramer's rule. And Cramer's rule is basically using determinants. So Cramer's rule, notice that the equations have to be in standard form. To find x, notice how we have a determinant over a determinant. But notice how the top determinant, basically what's happening is the constant column over here is going to become the x column. The x column gets replaced by the constant column over here. Notice how the y's stay in place. The bottom determinant is simply the coefficients of the x's and the y's. When I'm solving for y, notice this EF thing. The F represents this constant column. So if I'm trying to solve for y, this constant column is going to replace the y column. Everything else remains the same in this problem. So if I want to solve for x in this problem, what we have is two determinants. The bottom determinant is simply the coefficients of the x's and the y's. So the 3, the -2, the 1, and the 1 stay put. The top determinant, since I'm solving for x, the constant column replaces it. So the -16, 6 goes here. The y column remains the same. So if I want to do that math, to evaluate a determinant, you have to multiply the diagonal, -16 times 1, and we can do this on a calculator. So -16, oops, clear. So -16 times 1, and then we're going to subtract the other diagonal, which is 6 times 1. And that's going to give us a -22. And then on the bottom, we have 3 times 1. And we're going to subtract from that -2 times 1. And let the calculator get that math, which is going to be a 5. So -2/25 is going to be the value for x. So if I want to find what y is, notice that the bottom determinant doesn't change. So that 5 is already kind of done for us. But the top determinant, notice how the x column stays in the problem. But since I'm solving for y, the constant column goes in place of that. So that 16, 6, -6 goes there. I think that's where I made a mistake at. The -16, -6 there. So let me back up and redo that first one. So on the top one, I should have had -16 times 1 minus -6 times 1. And that's actually -10. So I made a mistake there by not making that a -6. So that's actually going to be a -10. So -10 divided by 5 would actually be just -2. So x actually is -2 there. So let's try this other one now. It's set up correctly. So if I want to do the determinant, we do 3 times -6 minus -2 times -16. And that gives us -50. So -50 divided by 5 would be then -10. So y would be -10. So that would be the solution for that one. X would be -2 and y would be -10. So Cramer's rule really allows us to lean heavily on technology.